Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. All right. So I wanted to update you guys on a video I did last year, and it has to do with your bro Quincy. I'm sure you guys do know who he is. He did make an appearance at XRP Las Vegas this year. Some of the things that I talk about in this video relate to where we are today in the market. Now, we were talking about XRP utility back then, and again, guys, this was from last year, June 2024. I want to bring it up again because we have seen a lot of changes. So without further ado, I'm going to play you guys a clip of this video I did back on July 13th, 2024. We're going to go over some of those Quincy quotes and discuss XRP utility today. A couple of weeks ago, guys, I happened to see this tweet and I did highlight it in a video that I did back then. XRP is heavily undervalued. Reminder by Brad Garlinghouse, XRP is in such a unique position and the market hasn't kind of rewarded that. So the post is below. I don't know if you guys remember Brad saying that. What he meant by that, guys, because XRP has been cleared, basically been cleared by the courts in the United States. Now, this is a very US-centric statement here. The fact that XRP isn't adopted or hasn't been adopted at a higher rate in the United States is kind of baffling. Now, there are some reasons behind this. As you guys can see, the top 10 crypto assets by market capitalization. Again, this was just from a couple of weeks ago, so fairly new numbers. You can see Bitcoin over here, annualized volatility, 46.6%. With Ethereum, we've got 53.7%. BNB coin, we're sitting at 51.8%. Solana, quite volatile, guys, at 90.7%. However, XRP, the most volatile, well, I mean, other than Shiba Inu, of course, at 92.7%. But in the top 5 cryptocurrencies, XRP is the most volatile, and return to date on percentages, XRP not faring so well compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin was sitting at 46.1%, Ethereum at 51%, Binance Coin 85.5%, Solana at 45.7% in terms of returns, and XRP, guys, negative 23%. So, in fact, since the beginning of the year, XRP's performance has not been that great. And boy, how things have changed, guys. That was from last year. I want to show you guys this article from about a couple of months ago, April the 1st, 2025. Grayscale moves to convert XRP and Bitcoin large cap funds into publicly traded ETFs. So a far cry from what Grayscale was doing last year. They were holding XRP in a basket, but now we have XRP ETFs that are being filed, and Grayscale being one of the companies that are filing. So currently, the digital large cap fund is privately offered only to accredited investors. However, Grayscale's latest S3 registration statement seeks to transform this fund into an ETF. So that is the difference now. Now they're focusing on these particular ETFs specifically, XRP being in its own exchange-traded fund. And although we were talking about XRP not faring so well, remember, guys, take a look at this chart here. Well, I do actually mention it again in this video. Listen to this. This can be attributed to market sentiment. This can also be attributed to the lagging factors from the last bull run. Of course, in the last bull run, we were hoping to see XRP surpass the all-time high of about $3.30, at least on this exchange, but it didn't. It only reached about $2, $1.95, $1.96, depending on which exchange you're looking at. And there are many factors involved in this. The big one was the Black Swan event when the SEC brought on the lawsuit against Ripple and XRP. The price just cratered, and it took a while for it to start moving to the upside once again. Now, had we not had this event, things could have looked very, very different. We could have surpassed all-time high, and this is why I think we're actually going to do very, very well during this bull run. So guys, let's take a look at the chart from back in 2024. Again, this is from a year ago, and let's take a look at the chart today. Okay, so at that time, we were sitting in and around here. I'm just going to put a mark on the chart here just to show you guys where we were. Roughly in and around, I want to say in and around here. And from that point, guys, we did move up significantly. It was only a couple of months before XRP did really kind of shine, along with many other cryptocurrencies. Again, guys, we are in a speculative bull run at the moment, and this could change at any point in time. I mean, we really did see this initial burst after Donald Trump did get elected. And the reasons for that, guys, a pro-crypto administration, okay? Very, very different. I talk about, all the updates that are happening in the United States. And as we're seeing cryptocurrency mature, the market is just getting stronger and stronger. So now that brings me to some other points that I wanted to make here. First, I wanted to just bring up some things that Quincy did say, a bit of a collage, some clips from Quincy Jones. Okay, he's a developer on the XDC network, very knowledgeable about the XRP ledger. Listen to this. Quincy Jones and some of his takeaways. Quincy is a very bright developer. He develops on the XDC network, but he has a lot to say about Ripple and XRP. In this first video clip, Quincy talks about the XRPL blockchain and compares it to other blockchains. Listen to this. It never hurts that the XRP ledger has two special attributes, according to Quincy here. Now, Quincy's a very bright guy. He's a developer in the space. He's always been very, very bullish on XRP and the ecosystem that surrounds the XRP token, namely the XRP ledger. Here's what he said about the XRP DEX in particular, putting it in a way that I think is going to make sense for many of us. Listen to this.
A lot of the other things there's a lot of overlap. And don't get me wrong, there are some things where it's not proof of stake or proof of work, but that's not what makes it special. That's what makes it maybe unique, not what's special. The two things that make it special is, one, the entire network is a DEX. What does that mean? It means anybody from their individual wallet can list an asset for sale into the DEX. You don't have to go to a DEX. You don't have to go to third. The entire network is a DEX. In that DEX is a liquidity routing algorithm that allows you to maximize liquidity between any asset that you, or maximize the it automatically routes the asset to maximize liquidity. So the whole premise of this is no liquidity pools. There's an algorithm that keeps you, so any other exchange, any other DEX, any other everything has liquidity pools. XRP does not. It has an algorithm that maximizes liquidity by being able to route and liquidate the asset based on what's available on the network. Those are the two things that make XRP amazing. Now you can get into the speed, you can get into it's not proof of work, proof of stake, you can get into all that too. But those two things, the fact that the entire network's a DEX and there's an algorithm that maximizes liquidity on that DEX, is the two biggest things. And when people talk about cross-border remittances, currency, Nostro Vostro, that allows for the instant liquidity of any asset like it's cash. You see what I mean?
So boom goes the dynamite, providing instant liquidity on a decentralized exchange. You don't have to go to a third party, guys. It's all built in. And this coming from a developer, an XDC developer on top of that. Quincy here at Coin Club Quincy wanted to thank Chad Steingraber and Quincy for giving his opinion on the XRPL, why it's special, why it's really about tokenizing everything, and why Ripple has such a vested interest in keeping this token liquid. Ripple does have a vested interest in keeping the XRP token liquid. There are benefits to this. Obviously, if you are going to be the bridge currency, the bridge asset, moving all the money, right? XRP has to be positioned in a specific way in order for that to occur seamlessly. In the next clip, guys, I highlighted Quincy. This is from a couple of years ago, April 2022. Quincy explains why tokens like XRP and XLM are going to be passed around more than other cryptocurrencies. It's because of their purpose, why they are being used. Listen to this. Let me just remind you what Quincy here said about the XRP and the XLM tokens, that they are going to provide liquidity again. This was from back in June of 2021. If you didn't believe it yet, here's Quincy.
I'll just explain the concept real quick because yeah, not only can you trade on these platforms, this doesn't go just for XRP, this goes for XRP, XLM, and Algorand, and XDC. But the reason why Algorand and XDC, the opportunities aren't there as much is because they're not liquidity tokens like XRP and XLM. So the reason why liquidity tokens are important are liquidity tokens are going to be passed around almost like how typical money would be passed around, while smart contract platforms will basically be not quite hodled, but they'll hold on to it to use the technology to run their smart contracts. You see what I mean? So they're not typically going to be making payments with XDC unless they're making payments to another smart contract on the Corda platform in XDC.
So boom goes the dynamite, and not to worry if you do hold XDC or Algorand. Those projects obviously are going to be valuable for their own reasons, but as Quincy puts it, XRP and XLM are meant to be the liquidity tokens. This is why they're so similar. As Quincy puts it, they're going to be passed around like money. They are going to be passed around to transfer anything of value. And even since 2015, the fact that they were already using XRP in Singapore to transfer gold and silver, I think speaks volumes and is going to be painting a very intricate picture to where coins like XRP and XLM will be poised in this financial future, where Putin wants gold for his resources. Well, we delve into some more things there. Putin wanting gold for his resources. I will link all these videos, these previous videos that I've done, in the description of the video if you guys have noticed any other topic that you want to research more. The fact that, these coins are meant to be liquidity tokens, even the XDC network, Quincy works as a developer developing on the XDC network. He says Algorand and the XDC token are not going to be as liquid as, let's say, XRP or XLM for many different reasons. These coins are meant to be liquidity tokens. So that is another important factor to consider, guys, when we consider XRP being utilized, XRP demand going higher than maybe some of these other cryptocurrencies. And another reason why people would want to hold cryptocurrencies like XRP and XLM as a store of value. In the next clip, this is where it gets juicy, guys. Quincy talks about the potential value of XRP based on the network. So this is going back to what Molly Elmore was talking about in this clip. Okay, that almost kind of like a flywheel effect and the compounding effects that are really going to propel XRP forward. This is a video I did back a couple of years ago in July of 2022. First here, I talk about the concept of dilution, and then Quincy gives his opinion on the value of XRP. Listen to this. But is there an argument to suggest, it doesn't have to be 50,000, but to suggest an XRP in this, let's say 4 digits or even 5 digits, $10,000 per XRP. So RippleItIn.nz here pointed this out. Interesting. We got to look at dilution of the value of XRP, okay? And this is a good allegory, I thought, relevant to issuers who create a token without bringing any liquidity with them. In other words, these tokens are issued at zero value and gain their value from you. Airdrops and rewards from these issuers are funded by you and your XRP. So here's the allegory. Dilution. The jug and glass represent the amount of liquidity. The contents inside represents the value. Okay, so here's liquidity, value we got here in each token ecosystem, XRP liquidity. Add 3 tokens at zero cost to issue and no liquidity added by the issuer. The value comes from the XRP liquidity. XRP value has been diluted. So with no liquidity comes no value because there's no utility for these particular coins. Kind of like today, when we're seeing very, very low prices. Add another 3 tokens at zero cost to issue and no liquidity added by the issuer. The value comes from both the XRP, the liquidity, and the other tokens liquidity. All tokens and XRP value is diluted. So with the more tokens that are issued, with the same amount of liquidity, obviously that value becomes diluted. The only way to return the value back to XRP or to the tokens who have lost value is for the issuer to add new liquidity by buying up XRP, not by selling his tokens or returning the glasses to empty by putting it back into the XRP jug. Okay, so more liquidity, new liquidity is added, or buy new money buying into XRP. So this is why, guys, Brad Garlinghouse has said liquidity is so important. This is where we're going to have value added to the XRPL. That is not healthy, though, as you want new money to be adding value, not replacing value. So an interesting allegory here, liquidity is really what is going to add value to the, not only to the XRPL, but to all our tokens that are going to be traversing over the XRPL, adding liquidity, focusing on, for example, high value payments. That's just one application. But this is also why we're kind of rooting for XRPL developers to create more use cases, because the more use cases there are on the XRPL, the more value is going to be added. And so to the point that Jimmy Valley was saying yesterday, he was reevaluating because at this point in time, the economy was looking very different, or is looking very different than it was back when he made his original prediction in 2021. In the summer of last year, Quincy did a few videos on his YouTube channel explaining more about the technology, use cases, understanding the concept of the XRPL and other blockchain protocols. Let me remind you what he said, guys, about the XRP ledger.
So anybody out there that's telling you they know where the price of XRP will go has no idea. Zero, absolutely zero clue. But I'll give you a tiny hint of an idea of what could happen. So XRP is it's a financial instrument of value. And that instrument is basically, the instrument's really liquidity between different other instruments like bonds, stocks, currencies, all everything basically. Yeah. And the XRP is only worth the value of the things that are issued on it, because it would cost XRP to buy those things on the network and use that liquidity. Mm-hmm. So what ends up happening here is not only do you have to issue all of the equity, but you've also got to issue all of the debt. So XRP is only bound by the fiscal responsibility of the people that issue assets on it, which is obviously irresponsible. So XRP could be at $100, $100,000, $1 million. It depends on how many assets you want to issue onto the network. So if you wanted to issue, $100 trillion worth of equity, cool. That's a lot of money on the network. What happens if they want to issue another $500 million worth of debt? That also adds value to the network. So there really is a mind-blowing amount of wealth, essentially, that could basically be flowing through these networks that we can't even comprehend because of that debt question of being able to issue more and more and more value.
So you essentially see what Quincy is saying here. The more value that is issued on the XRPL, whether it is in the form of equity or debt, is just going to add more value to the XRPL. Therefore, XRP will need to be as high of a price as it needs to be in order to manage everything that is being put on the XRPL. So it's a mind-blowing amount. We can't even, as Quincy even said, who is a developer who does understand this kind of thing, it is such a mind-blowing amount that we can't even fathom how much is going to be facilitated on the XRPL in particular. This is why I get excited, guys, when I see new partnerships. This is why I say, more utility being driven to the XRPL, the better it is. And this is why, with more liquidity, we will see more value for XRP. So I hope that sums it up. This is where these $50,000 per XRP price predictions start to make a lot of sense, right? Okay, guys, so that brings me to the 2025 updates. I recently did this video here. We recently did get the news that there is more development over the XRP ledger through Ondo Finance. This was from a few days ago. And Axelar. We were getting the news pretty much on the same day. And so, sorry, I just lost connection there for a second. Okay, so we've got a brand new Axelar network will function as an exclusive bridge for transferring assets, including the XRP required to create WXRP between the XRPL mainnet and EVM sidechains. Guys, this is happening through Axelar. Again, I just did this video a couple of days ago. And not only that, we got Ondo Finance. So this is bringing so much more value onto the XRP ledger. Here's the Ondo Finance announcement from a few days ago, June the 11th. Tokenized treasuries are now going live on the XRP ledger. Ondo Finance's OUSG unlocks institutional access with seamless mint and redemptions via Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin. And there's a whole article with regards to that. I will link this video, if you guys didn't catch it, I will link it up here in the top right-hand corner. But on top of that, we scroll through here. I did want to show you guys, no, it wasn't there. It was, there's some more information there from Ondo Finance. It was this video here, okay? So I brought up this tweet again. I thought it was good enough to show you guys one more time how big this is going to get. Again, Quincy was talking about a lot of this back 3-4 years ago. And now, guys, we are in a different age. XRP market cap, $121.6 billion. That is Q1 of 2025. But think about it, this is how real-world utility is going to inflate XRP price.
Right now, XRP has a market cap of around $120 billion. Compared to traditional systems like SWIFT, or the $30 trillion expected to be tokenized by 2030, that's just the beginning. And then there's the derivatives market, valued at a staggering $1 quadrillion.
So think of that for a second, $1 quadrillion. Again, the derivatives market. And, there is still so much value out there that could, and I say could because it's not definitely going to be tokenized on the XRP ledger, but, the sky is the limit when Quincy says we don't even know. I mean, we can't even fathom how much can be tokenized on the XRPL. Basically, your imagination is the limit. This is the thing, right? And the more that is tokenized on the XRP ledger, the higher the price could go theoretically. And so, in 2025, we got the Ondo Finance announcement, and we've got the Axelar announcement. On top of which, now we do have the Hidden Road acquisition. Ripple did just come out, or rather Brad Garlinghouse did just come out saying that he predicts, and this is Brad's official prediction, 14% of Ripple's business is going to go through Swift. If you guys didn't catch that video, I will link it up here in the top right-hand corner. But this is how big it's going to get, guys. It is huge. Tokenization is just the beginning. I want to play you guys another clip of this video that I did last year. Listen to this. It begs the question, guys, are we going to see another spec cycle this bull run, or are we going to see real-world utility kick in by the end of 24 and into 25? This has been the question that has been itching my brain for the last little while. Quincy gives his opinion on it. Listen to this. I'm glad I happened to see this, guys, from Flip the Chain. This is Coin Club Quincy, if you guys haven't seen this guy before. He's done a few videos. He's an XDC developer, but done a few videos discussing XRP also. And I'll put one of the videos where I've highlighted Quincy in the past up here in the top right-hand corner. These guys in this video interview, they're talking about the next bull cycle, moving from speculation to utility-driven. Guys, what that's going to mean, more money coming into the crypto space, less fluctuations in price, but the price is going to go higher. Listen to this.
30 central bank currently working with Ripple. I'm not sure if you just answered this, so I'm not sure, but let me know. Do you think this is a speculation-driven cycle, or do you think utility is actually entering the market?
So I think there's a little bit of both. I wish you could have two graphs, right? I wish you could have the hype cycle graph, like people showing the hype, and then the utility graph. And that would basically be taking the entirety of the market and taking out speculation. So let's say someone bought a token or exchanged a token. That the reason they bought it, the institutional utility reason they bought it, would be to run some sort of business process, whether it's moving capital, whether it's managing assets, whatever it may be. We're seeing more of that, but I think we're still seeing the hype cycle outpace in utility. So as you do see more people utilizing these blockchains for their businesses, for their applications, for their different processes, we do see a lot more of it. And you see a lot of different integrations all over the place. But at the same time, I do believe you see more of, and it's going to be like a flippening, like people always talk about the great flippening with Bitcoin and some other asset. There's going to be a flipping in the total amount of, I guess you could say there's like two pools of liquidity. There's retail liquidity, and you can call this institutional utility liquidity. There's going to be a flippening where the total amount of value going into crypto is more institutional than it is retail. And that's just because the demand for the blockchains is increasing based off those processes that they're able to facilitate.
So mixing in some spec with some real world utility, as you can see, Quincy is not committing to an answer here, guys, which gives me some hope that we actually are going to see real world utility perhaps kick in, and this won't just be another spec run, guys. So if we do see that real world utility, XRP will command higher values. That just makes sense based on supply and demand fundamentals. So hype is outpacing utility. And as you guys can see here, it's just been the FOMO right now, getting the price up. But now in 2025, we have so many more announcements, so much more as a catalyst to bring the price up higher. And the real world utility really is going to be where we see XRP price really thrive. And so guys, if you're still confused, I'm still scratching my head at points, thinking to myself, are we really going to see the real world utility? Then we get the news, right? We get the Ondo Finance news, we get the Axelar news, plus many other partnerships, not to mention Hidden Road and all those other big Ripple news stories. Then you think to yourself, okay, Ripple's setting themselves up for real world utility. That is obvious, but when is it going to happen? When's it going to kick off? At this point, it's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. And if you guys want to get a more in-depth approach of how I'm taking on this market, you can follow me at patreon.com/workingmoneychannel. That is pretty much where I'm, brainstorming, sharing my thoughts. I do a monthly Q&A session with my Patreon subscribers. You guys also have my ear. DM me. I will respond to you 100%. So check it out if you're interested. Patreon.com/workingmoneychannel. I gotta hand it to your bro Quincy. He has been knocking it out of the park. I think XRP prices, chances are going to see higher highs sooner than you think. And hey, if you guys are interested in some Working Money Channel merchandise, you can pop over there to the Working Money Channel merch store. Link is in the description of the video. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.